Hi everybody! Today's video is going to be a very technique focused talk through video. I really wanted to do something on how I highlight and contour my face and kind of review some of my favorite products, whether you want to use powder contour products or cream. So I'm going to talk about both and kind of techniques for both, brushes that I use, things like that. So this is not going to be your typical tutorial. As you can see, a lot of my makeup is already done, so I can kind of focus just on those specific aspects of putting how I do my routine. But if you have questions about anything I'm wearing in this look other than the contour and highlight products we're going to talk about, just comment below and I'm happy to let you know what I was wearing. I haven't been doing videos lately. I'm really sorry if you're a subscriber that I haven't posted in a while. Just had a lot of really important family business that has kept me away from having time to film. I'm also changing jobs and still planning a wedding, so it's just been a little bit busy, but I'm getting back into it, and more videos to come, tutorials, color correction, favorite travel makeup and beauty products. So I have a lot on my list that I want to do for everyone, and so stay tuned. I hope you enjoy this video, and let's just jump right into it. Okay, so forgive these ridiculous clips, but I have to get my hair out of my face so that we can see our canvas here. So as you can see, my eyes are done and I've done my color correction and my foundation. That's all I've done. I don't have any concealer on. That we're going to do that as part of our structuring process. So that's why under my eyes look orange. I am going to do a color correction video specific to those techniques, but for now we just did orange underneath the eyes to level set any dark circles, and underneath my foundation is some green tones to counteract any redness, and then Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Liquid Foundation, and that's all I have on so far. So why don't we start with concealer. So today to conceal, I'm going to use the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer. I really love Urban Decay's Naked, but I'm out of my lightest color right now. It's on the way, so we're gonna use this instead today. This is a beautiful concealer. It does kind of require that you use a beauty blender though to blend it out. It's a little bit more gel-like in its consistency and a little bit harder to apply because it doesn't have a wand, it's just a squeezy tube. Not my favorite aspect of this product. Hopefully they come out with a new packaging in their next round. So we're gonna take this color, and you wanna take a color that's at least a couple shades lighter than your skin tone to make sure that it's gonna brighten up the center of your face enough to create some dimension. Don't be afraid when you first put it on that it looks like much lighter than your skin. It's supposed to be that way, and we are gonna blend it out. So I'm just gonna take this light color, and again, this squeezy tube is not ideal, but I'm just gonna dab this kind of down the edge of my nose, under the eyes, out toward the temple, in a little bit of a triangular shape. And I have way too much because this squeezy tube is impossible to manage, especially as you start to run out of product in the tube. It becomes really, really difficult. Wow, that is some bright concealer. Okay, so then with even less, I'm just gonna do a few little dabs in the center of the forehead. Basically, we wanna put the lightest shade as part of like our pre-highlighting, if you will, anywhere where we would want the light to hit the face first. So you can see with my lighting, like the sides of the face have more shadow naturally, and the front center portions of the face are where the light hits. So we're just accentuating where light would naturally go. That's all that highlighting and contouring really is. And I just made a huge mess, so I'm now gonna use my finger a little bit here. So we're just gonna dab this in the center of the chin. If you are not a particularly huge fan of your chin, or it's oversized proportionally to your face, you may not want to, basically eating this concealer right now. This is sexy. You may not want to accentuate your chin. If you have a particularly large forehead, you may want to do a smaller highlight area in the center of your face. And when we get to contouring, again, if you have a very small forehead, like you have a very frontward hairline, you may want to contour less. So this is how I do mine as an example, but certainly customize this to the shape of your face and where your needs are. So then I'm just going to take a damp beauty blender or sponge or whatever you have, and I'm just going to dab over these areas to combine it with my foundation. And you can already see that the light is picking up these lighter areas. I have to be very careful not to catch my brows. So I said I was gonna also talk about like cream versus powder products. For highlighting, I like to start with my concealer, which is, you know, always gonna be a liquid. But when we get to contouring, you'll see you kind of have some choices in terms of creamier products, like kits or sticks versus using like a bronzer or a contouring powder. Kind of cover both. I'm going to use cream products today, but I will show you my favorite powder products and how I would change my brushes or my technique to apply it a little bit differently. So now to try and get some of this concealer under control, I used a bit too much, which is all right. That's why a beauty blender is great. You can absorb the extra and just dab it off. I always have like kind of like a throwaway washcloth sort of thing, like any towel that you don't really care about getting stained. And I always do my makeup with one of those like on my leg or on my vanity so that I have somewhere to dab excess product and kind of clean off my brushes as I go. It's definitely a helpful tip. So again, we're just absorbing and blending, absorbing and blending. Getting up the sides of the nose, don't hit the edges of your nose, but the slope sides where it combines with your under eye area. Get closer to the camera, right in here. You want to hit that with some of your lighter concealer because that helps bridge it into where we're going to contour the nose and adds even more dimension to that contour when we get there. For anyone who feels overwhelmed by the contouring and highlighting process and how many products are out there, all I can say to you is it just takes practice and really getting to know your own face. So don't be discouraged, try not to be overwhelmed. You can't necessarily choose a wrong product. Like if you're not going to get that Makeup Forever Ultra HD concealer, but you have a light concealer that really works for you and that's good on your skin, it's perfectly fine. This is just my recommendation and what I tend to use. But this is, you know, it's the world of makeup. There's a million choices and there's really no official rules of what's the best. Okay. So that's nice and blended out, and you can definitely see the center of the face has much more brightness than it did before, especially compared to the other areas of the face. Okay, so now we want to set some of this. So I'm going to set my foundation areas before we apply any more product with something that's basically a powder version of the foundation that I used. You can use a setting powder, it can be translucent, it can be tinted. I will show you a translucent powder that I use very often that I really like. I'm taking in my vanity right now. Okay, so this is, I should have pulled this out. This is Cover FX. Their light illuminating powder. They also make a matte version of this. So if you're oily, go for the matte, or if you just like a really matte complexion. If you want some slight illumination to the skin, this Cover FX illuminating powder is great, and it's a good size. It'll last you a long time. It's similar to the Laura Mercier powder. I just happen to prefer Cover FX as a brand overall. I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to use my Marc Jacobs Instamark Light Filtering Palette. I use this in every tutorial, so you guys, if you follow me, have seen this before. And it comes with 2 shades. They have 3 sets of these, one that's a bit more pink and one that's deeper. So this is number 40, so this is the middle one. And this you can see is a very yellowy tinted shade. And I'm going to use a fluffy brush, not too big, something that works well in your under eye area and that shape of your face. And I'm just going to take this yellow shade here, blow off some of the excess and the cat hair, because nothing in my house is without cat hair. It's what happens when you become a cat lady under 30. And I'm just gonna set this under eye area. Now, some people like to bake. You've probably heard the term baking. You might be familiar. You might have no idea what it is. This is setting your concealer or your foundation. If you want to bake, you're gonna add excess powder to the point where it looks like you have flour blown on your face. The reason for that is it sits on top of the concealer and it cooks it basically. It like traps it so that it can't crease, it can't move, and when you brush off all that, I want to say flour, when you brush off all that powder a little bit later on after you've let it sit, it's like, it's a really, really matte finish and it's very secure, like your makeup's not gonna budge. A lot of brides really like to do this technique now, the baking, because it gives them longevity to their makeup when they're gonna be taking photos all day. Average everyday makeup, do you need to bake your face? Probably not, but that's what it is. I'm not a huge fan because I don't like my face to be that matte. So I just set. Okay, so we set the under eye area with that yellowy shade. Next thing we're going to do is set the rest of the foundation. And I mentioned I was going to use a powder version basically of the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Liquid Foundation that I put on. It does not have to match your foundation in terms of the brand or anything. Again, like I said, you can use the Cover FX setting powder, but I just like that this matches my skin tone, and the color of the foundation I put on just makes it a little bit more seamless. And these powders are like butter. I know they're very expensive. I certainly don't mean to come across as someone hawking like only highest end designer makeup. If this is not in your budget, I'm sure that there's a powder that's just as silky that you could use in place of this. So I'm just going to take a really big fluffy brush, blow off a little bit of the excess, and I'm just going to dab this into the skin. By setting the foundation before we go in and do any other steps, it just gives you like a nice flawless finish that you can glide the other products over that much more easily. I find that especially in the summer, when it's so hot and you're sweating all day, that having a little bit of a set for the whole face without like mattifying it all out goes a long way in terms of making the makeup last. You can also see it helped to tone down how bright the highlight was in the chin. I didn't put this on the under eye area at all because we set that with the Marc Jacobs powder that was a bit more yellow tinted and appropriate for the under eye area. I'm only setting the rest of the face with this powder. If you bring your foundation onto your neck, it's a really good idea to set that as well. So for good measure, we'll just add a little bit here. Okay. So that's setting the face. So now we have a nice canvas to start doing our contour process. To do the contour, like I said, there's a lot of different ways you could go. Powder, cream, it depends what your preference is. It depends what products you like. I suggest trying some, maybe going into the store with your face just like this and just playing a little bit in like a Sephora or an Ulta to find what you like. If you're doing, because I'm gonna do cream actually on my face for this video, let me start with the powder products just so you have reference. So if I was going to do a powder contour, which is more of it's what I tend to use every day just because it's a little bit quicker to apply. I will either use the contour shade in my Marc Jacobs palette and a brush like this Morphe M527 brush. So it's narrower from the side, but it's fluffy bristles, and it lets you I would brush it in this color, blow it off a little bit. Pulling in your cheeks helps you find the line. Some people's lines are a little bit more flat. Some are more severe, you know, from tip of their ear way down their face. And you would brush it in here, straight back and forth, little bit of product on the brush. Start with less. Always start with less and build it up little by little, just until you get the level of contour that you want. So this is a powder product I would use with this brush for that technique. If I wanted to use a bronzer instead of a contour shade, I might use this Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion. This is shade 25I, which is the iridescent line. They also have levels of deepness in the color followed by the letter M, which is matte. If you're interested in this product but you don't want a shimmer, the matte ones are just as beautiful. But sometimes I like a little bit of shimmer in my contour just because it feels a little bit more like you're bronzing the face and just adds a little more warmth and it's not quite as matte. So again, I would just brush my brush in there, blow it off a little bit and build it up, build it up. Same thing with the sides of the forehead and along the hairline. A little bit on the tip of the chin. We're gonna go over all the areas that you can contour. You use the same areas, you just use a different product and a different brush and just start small and build it up so that you don't end up with a big streak of dark powder across your face. Finally, my third favorite contour product, if I'm gonna use powder, is the Becca, I always forget the name of this because it's so long, Shadow and Light Bronze Contour Perfector. It's a dual shade, it's not totally matte, it has the slightest hint of some iridescence in this powder, and because it's two shade, it tends to look very natural because it's not, you know, it's not monotone. So I would brush it in there, and then the side of the brush that hit the lighter color is the part I would put up. So if this side of the brush, the top side, was on the light shade, that's what I would put on the top toward the cheekbone, so it blends it out a little bit more and let the deeper shade sit in that deepest crevice underneath my cheekbone. Same thing up here, have the lighter shade fall a little bit closer to the center of the face, darker shade towards the hairline, and you just brush that all out. So those are my 3 favorites. So the Marc Jacobs Insta Mark Light, I'll link all these below, but the Marc Jacobs, the Becca Bronze Perfector, and the Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion. Whew, the names of these products, you think it could just say bronzer. So those are some of my faves for powder. Okay, let's talk about cream contouring. I have 2 favorite sets of products. I like this one from Cover FX. I've mentioned before, I really like this company. They leave a lot of artificial ingredients out of their products, which I very much appreciate. And they have great shades. So I think they have maybe like 6 different palettes based on like cooler tones, warmer tones, how light or deep your skin is. So they're really good at skin tone matching. Okay, so you can see there's a highlight shade, there's a shimmery highlight shade, then there's 2, like a bronzing and a contour shade basically. So as you can see, I tend to use this one. Because it's so thick, it helps if you use a little bit of like a beauty oil or something like that and drip 1 drop on the pan and then use your brush. So you can see it's angled. It's not a huge brush. It's dense, but the tips are still nice and soft, so you get an airbrushed application. This is the Morphe M334 brush. So what I do is, like I said, drop of oil in the pan. 1. You can use like a Josie Maran argan oil. You can use a beauty elixir oil. Anything that you might have. You can get a little, if you want to try oils and you don't have one and you want to spend $50 on a big bottle, at Sephora they do sell the mini size version of the Josie Maran in both the regular argan oil and the light. I use the light. I just think it's a little bit smoother, especially when you're mixing it with makeup products. And the little bottle is $16, and it'll last you forever if this is all you're using. It'll last you forever. They're usually by the checkout counter. So 1 drop. Use this brush to swish it around. It'll help liquefy the product a little bit and make it a little bit more usable. And then I would dip in there and I would draw a line just like this, using the longer bristles up on the cheekbone and the shorter ones getting down in underneath, and just draw it straight down. You probably want to stop about just before you get to the color of your eyes on the outside. If you bring it in too far, that's not a good look. Just doing it right now, it's not cute. So you want to stop. Basically, like when you smile, you can see where your cheekbone area ends and where your smile lines start. Your smile lines look like they start here when you're not smiling, but when you smile, you can see they're actually way out here on your face. So you don't want to cut your cheek off. You want to start, that sounded really, really violent. You want to stop about here. And then you do the same thing up here along the hairline. Again, if you have a bigger forehead, you can contour a deeper area. If you have a really small forehead and a short hairline, then maybe you don't want to contour your forehead at all. It really depends on the structure of your face. The chin down here and then along the jawline here. And then that you blend down into the neck. Don't blend it up or you'll lose the sharp edge of your face. We're gonna do all of this with the sticks, but I'm just going over different products that I want you to see, but I'm not gonna necessarily demonstrate in this video. And this is in the shade G light to medium. So G for golden, so this is for someone with a little bit more yellow toned skin, which is me. I'm kind of neutral, but if I skew anything, it's a little bit olive. So I always go with golden tones, and then light to medium tells you how deep the shades are gonna be. We are going to go into the product we're going to actually use, which is my all-time favorite that's come out since this trend has become so mainstream. There's been a million products, and these are my favorite. They're the Smashbox Contour Stick Trio. Their color correcting sticks are great too. I will talk about them in the color correcting video. But this set, the only thing I wish they did is sold these individually. They sell the color correcting sticks individually, but the contour and highlight sticks, the 3 shades, they only sell as a 3-pack. I've even written to Smashbox to advise them that they should sell these individually. Because you blow through one, this is the darkest contour color. Whoop. Excuse me. Okay, I'm back. But these are such a beautiful consistency. They're easy to travel with because they're not liquid. They're not in like a breakable packaging. They're not in a pan that could shatter. You throw these in your bag and you're good to go. They're such a great product. And they don't take up a lot of space. Look how little they are. Little. I just realized we just did this, all this way into the video and I'm just now starting to contour my face. I apologize for that. Pull all your hair back. Start at your ear. And draw a line that hugs your cheekbone but doesn't go up onto the cheekbone and doesn't sit too low on the face. You can make it a little thicker towards the ear because we're going to taper it. Okay. Then we're going to go around the hairline. I like to draw kind of just loose lines so that it's easier to blend out. We're going to do the nose last, so I'm just going to start with the face and then we'll do the nose. I'm just going to do a little bit on the chin here. I don't really have an issue with my chin feeling too disproportional to my face. If you do, you can add a little bit more darkness. Don't bring it up too far. Make sure you have a distinction between where the light hits and where you want it to kind of fade back. And then underneath the edge of the jawline, down forward. Then I'm going to take the bronzing color, which is a little bit lighter, and I'm just going to do little twisty circles. Just twist the pencil right into the skin like that. This will just help blend it out. I only do this on the cheekbone area. I don't do this on the rest of the face. So we're going to use a stippling brush for this to blend this out. This is a stippling brush. You can see that it has shorter bristles on the outside that help spread out the bristles in between. You can see all the space in between there. It's almost like a little starburst. This has a lot of air in between the bristles, so this is going to help us get a nice airy blend to the product. You want to not push really hard with this brush. You want to use these little tips, the little tips of the bristles. So you just have to have patience. We're going to start in the front. And we're just doing circular motions and dragging up, circular motions, back and forth, whatever it takes gently to blend this out. Now as you can see, this only happens on the right side of my face. But you can see this streak right here where there's nothing in between. It only happens on the right side of my face. So what I do is I go back in with the darker shade and just put a little light application there and then continue to blend. This happens only when I do cream, not powder, and only on the right side of my face. It's either something about the angle because I'm using my right hand of how it blends, or something about like a dimpling in this side of my skin that I don't have on this side. Again, you'll get to know your face really, really well as you try to change its structure. So now you can see, even before we've even blended this, how much this sits in. It's a really easy way to lose a little bit of weight off your face with just makeup. If you feel uncomfortable like trying a new technique before you're actually going to go out, you're not sure if it looks the way you want it to look, before you go to bed at night, just do a little experimenting and then go wash your face. Like, that's the best time almost, because you're not in a hurry, you're not trying to get somewhere, you don't feel the pressure. It's just you can experiment and try stuff out and then just go wash it off and go to bed. And if it looks terrible, no one's got to see it. So now you can see when I smile, it doesn't come in toward the mouth. It stays where it should be, right underneath where the cheekbones kind of start. So now we're going to blend out the forehead. It's a little bit easier to do circular motions when you're near the hairline, but just make sure you pull your hair back nice and tight, so you're, especially if you're a blonde, so that you're not staining your roots. I'm going to be careful because I already did my brows. Typically I do all of this before I do my eye makeup, unless I'm doing a really like dramatic smoky eye that's going to have a lot of fallout of the shadow on my face and I want to be able to clean it up without taking my foundation off. Then I'll do my eyes first. I did for the purpose of this video, but normally I can be messy with this and not disturb my brows because I would normally have not done them yet. So you're just, again, patience, blending. This is why I mentioned earlier that powder contouring just isn't as much of a time investment, because it doesn't have the same level of blending that needs to happen as you go. Okay, so now you can see there's a lighter space in the middle of the face. There's a lighter space here under the eyes that pull the cheekbones up. But then their hairline pulls it back a little bit. The cheekbones underneath are cut out a little bit more. That's all highlighting and contouring is. We're taking where the light would hit and would have shadow and making it more dramatic so that you can really structure your face. Again, I'm just gonna blend out the chin here, keeping it low. Don't let this come up too high. This is how we get that supermodel jawline, especially in photos. Something about contouring that you'll really notice is when you take photos, how much it changes your face. So like when you're out with your girlfriends and like taking selfies or whatever and having a good time, you'll look at the photos the next day and be like, damn, my face looked chiseled. It's the best feeling. Because it's still your face, it's just your face a little bit better. You can see already right now how much darker it looks right under the jawline right here. So now let's do the nose. So for the nose, we're gonna use the same products, but we're gonna use different brushes. Where are you at? Ah, it hides. This brush right here from Morphe, the M333 brush. This is hands down my favorite brush for contouring my nose. I've tried a few. There are others that work, but this is my baby. I don't know what I would do if I like lost, well, I'd buy another one, but you know what I mean. For a moment, I'd be like, not consolable. Okay, so to contour the nose, again, everyone's nose is really, really different. If you broke your nose, like playing sports in high school, let's say, and you have like that bump right here in the bridge that never really healed, you can accentuate that a little bit more with the darkness, with the dark shade, and blend that out to help recede back that bump. You can kind of straighten a nose that's a little bit crooked. Just remember, wherever the dark shade goes is going to recede back or look slimmer, and wherever you leave the white line down the center is where it's gonna pop forward. So I'm just gonna draw down the side. It's hard for me to talk while I do this, so forgive the silence. Okay, I don't go all the way up into my brow bridge. I will blend it up into that area, but I don't put fresh product there because it looks too dark and too dramatic. So I came down and then I did like a little wing right before I hit the ball of my nose where my nostrils start to puff out down here. Just before that, you can see. So now you see this big ball at the end. So now we're gonna taper that, and we're just gonna use kind of at the same point where this line stops. We're gonna start a little V, and we're gonna start a little V. Make them touch in the middle there. And then we're just gonna do a little bit there, and a little bit there on the sides of the nostrils. So I'm gonna zoom in for a second so you can see. So down the center, leaving a nice narrow, clean white strip, that's your highlight, which we will reinforce with a highlight. And then you wing it out before the ball of the nose, and then you do a V and a little bit on the nostrils just so everything blends up. We're gonna start at the wing, and we're just gonna blend up and down. Gently. Don't bring it into the center where you left the blank area. Just gently blend it up. This just really takes patience, and you can see I'm gonna bring it a little bit up toward the brow for that nice rounded entry into the top of the nose. And then just little movements very gently to blend it down. And blend out that little wing spot. Same with the other side. Kind of blend this up so you get a little emphasis near where the brows start, and then down. Blend the wing down, and then just gentle little pulls. You're basically just pulling the product a little bit. Soften the edges. Okay, now we're gonna do the V. Leave that center little tiny Rudolph ball of your nose blank and blend the V's down toward the nostrils. So now if you want to reinforce the highlight down the center, you can. You can just take this the white stick, which I know we haven't used yet, and just steady hand right down. See, mine's a little bit crooked. It's okay. If it's a little bit not straight, you just blend it toward the direction that it needs to be. So I would pull it from this side over a little bit as I blend it out. And then straight down. I hope that you guys can see this. I know my hand's blocking the camera a little bit. So straight down the nose. See? So now, if you want, this is optional. I tend to do it just because I like the look of it. You can have that nice straight perfect line, or you can create like a little bit of a turned up tip on the end of the nose by taking the dark color again. And basically right before that little white ball at the tip, just draw a tiny little slightly arched line and just blend it back and forth. Again, if you had a straight nose, perfectly straight, the light would hit evenly all the way down to the tip. If your nose turns up a little bit at the end, where it curves up, there'd be a little shadow. That's what you're creating. And then I just take the Beauty Blender sometimes just to make sure everything's nice and seamless and absorbed. The only other thing I'm going to show you how to contour, this is optional, is if you want your bottom lip to look a little bit more full, before you do your lip products, like your liner or anything, you can take a dark color. You can do this with powder too and a small brush. And like this line right here underneath your lip, I'm just going to do a little bit of contour there. See that? Very subtle, but it will give a little bit of a fullness to the lip. See, it just looks poutier because it looks like your bottom lip is so full that the shadow underneath is more dramatic. We're also going to highlight the Cupid's bow in a second, and then that will kind of amp up the top lip because more light is hitting on top. It looks like the top lip is pushing the edge of your lip up toward the light. So before we do any highlighting, I'm going to, well, we'll do blush first. Let's do blush first. I'm just using a simple blush today. I'm using an oldie but a goodie. It's MAC Warm Soul. Pink, peach, slight shimmer, very warm. Goes with like the warmer tones I'm wearing on the eyes today. This is an angled Morphe brush. This is the MB35. I'll link it below. Dab it in the product. Blow so there's no excess. Kind of purse your cheeks up so you can see where your cheek, like the full part of your cheeks are. And go right underneath where we highlighted and blend backward. Don't cover the whole highlight. You still want this part of the face to be nice and light. Technically, I would have to finish my eyes because we did the under eye concealer, and I don't have any like mascara on the lower lash line because you would do your lower lash line after you do your under eye concealer. So really quickly. Okay, so now we did the bottom of the eye, so that's done. Now we're just gonna highlight. So before that, I wanna set the entire face with this new powder that I have not tried before, and I'm so excited. It's a little nerve-wracking trying it the first time on camera because what if I hate it? I'm literally opening it for the first time. It's called their Light Reflecting Setting Powder. They have a loose one in a tub, and then they have a pressed. I really liked the idea of the pressed one because you can really get the brush in there without it flying everywhere. If you're trying to bake with this though, you'd want the loose one because then you can pile on the product. So I'm literally gonna put this like everywhere. It doesn't look like you get a lot of product on the brush, but somehow I think you do. I'm gonna put it over everything. I'm really excited to try this because I have never been a big fan of like setting the face. But with summer coming and knowing that in New York City subways, it's like 105 degrees on the platform and I'm gonna lose half my makeup just getting to work, I really have been exploring setting powders to like find the perfect one. Okay, enough playing with new products, Crystal. Get to the freaking point. I have two favorite highlighters of the moment. One is Can Never Live Without Becca's Shimmering Skin Perfectors. This is Champagne Pop by Jaclyn Hill. It's my favorite one, although I also love Opal. And then I'm also loving these new Lorac illuminating highlighters. This one's too pink for the look I'm doing today, which has a lot of browns and warm tones, but I've never had like a light pink lavendery highlight before, and when I'm wearing like pink tones or pink on my lips, I love this shade. This one's Moonlight. I will, because I'm not going to put it on my face, I'll at least swatch it for you. So it's like very soft pink, but like they're really glowy and beautiful. So I just wanted to mention this because we're talking about highlighting and contouring. There's 4 shades, so you don't have to get the pink one if that's not your thing. Becca pressed powder. Mine is broken in a million pieces, so I can't really lift it and show it to you. And I'm gonna use my Sigma tapered highlight brush. There's a lot of brands that make brushes like these. You don't have to have Sigmas. I just really, really love theirs. Dip it in the product, bang off the excess, and you want to start in the center of the cheek and then go up toward the temple without going into like your under eye socket. You want to really stay where the light would hit. Again, it's all about where the light would hit your face. Look at that highlight. Their collaboration is like life. They're just making girls glow. I mean, what's better than that? They're making ladies glow. Okay, so like I said, center of the cheek up here. And then the reason I like the tapered highlight brush is because you can also do the nose with it, because it's so I dip the tip in the powder, blow off the excess, and then just very lightly just run it down the center of the nose and hit the tip of the nose like that. You don't have to highlight your forehead, again, if you're not trying to accentuate it, but I just dab a little bit there above the brow. On the other side. Cupid's bow. So like we made the bottom lip look fuller by adding contour beneath it, because there'd be shadow there. We're making the top lip look a little more full by adding highlight above it, because that's where the light would be. A little bit, just a little bit on the chin right there. Last thing will be to highlight the brow bone. So I take a little pencil brush, this one's from Sephora, and then right here. Creates some lift to the eye. And also just ties your shadows together. Completes the eye look. I don't think I ever do an eye look without doing some kind of highlight on the brow bone. It doesn't have to be shimmery. It can just be a light shade of powder. Okay, so we are almost done. I'm just gonna add a lip so you can see the finished look. So yeah, that completes this highlighting and contouring. I'm just gonna bring my hair down because those clips have had their time. I hope that this was helpful for everyone. I hope that this maybe lifted the veil of mystery around like how people do this every day. Again, this is just what I like to do. This is you know, the products that I really enjoy, that I have found to be really effective. I certainly encourage everyone to tell me about great products they've tried if I didn't mention them today. But yeah, just practice, practice, practice. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe or thumbs up or comment and let me know that you enjoyed the video, and more to come. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.